Connor?
Yeah, Steve?
Are we recording?
I think so.
Folks, just when we thought we were out, they have us crawling back in. Connor, welcome back to our X-Pedition, because it's looked like it's finally about time to release New Mutants, knock on wood.
Hopefully, yeah.
Folks, in about 3 weeks' time, we should be sitting in a drive-in theater watching New Mutants. 3 weeks our time. By the time our New Mutants episode comes out, it'll be long after New Mutants was actually released. And
unless we
so,
have some kind of like editing mill, like back at school, where it's like in the labs, like wired in like fucking Mark Zuckerberg.
We each exchange an episode. We alternate.
Not a bad idea, actually.
So to prepare for this momentous occasion, we have to play catch up. We skipped the Deadpools when we first did our discussions, and we took breaks doing other retrospectives, and now the tax collector's here, and we have a debt to pay. So today we are talking about Deadpool from the year of our Lord, Connor?
2016.
From director Tim Miller, auteur behind Terminator Dark Fate, which is another pretty okay movie. Connor, what is your history with Deadpool?
Well, I remember back in the day, I liked Deadpool and X-Men Origins Wolverine, which I'm the only one.
You are the only one.
Pre, like, mouth being closed, I like Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Yeah.
And then when I heard the movie was a possibility, then it wasn't a possibility, and that test footage came out, I was very, very excited. I remember when that, like, the moment it came out, like, I was, like, on, like, scouring the internet for, like, before it was on YouTube to, like, find it to watch it, and it kept getting taken down.
Yeah.
And then I found it was on YouTube for, like, this really weird, sketchy channel, for, like, it was up for, like, 10 minutes, and I watched it in that time.
We probably watched the same channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was really hyped about that. And then when all the news, is it going to be PG-13? Is it going to be rated R? And the Mario Lopez hitting him with the chair. Mm-hmm. I was actively involved with Deadpool when it was coming out and, like, being made.
Yeah. Because the thing about the test footage, before the test footage leaked, that script had leaked.
Yes.
And the script really did not change between the point it got shelved to release. So they did a polish to add new jokes, but that's about it. Structurally, it was pretty much the same movie. And that movie was very rated R, so people were curious about the whole would Fox neuter it, because this was a pre-Logan world. This is the movie that allowed Logan to be rated R.
I mean, I saw the movie in the theater.
Uh-huh.
I loved it.
Uh-huh.
And then, like, a week later, I was like, I don't like this movie that much. Because it's funny, I said to my friends, I told my friend, Kelsey, my friend Bella,
Yeah.
and I left, I was like, that's like a high 9. And they're like, that's like a low 7. I was like, crazy. And then, like, yeah, and then, like, a week later, I was like, oh, yeah, I was wrong. I bought into the hype.
All right, do you mind if I go on a brief Deadpool tangent?
No, go for it.
So I want to set up some context. One, my personal relationship with this character, and two, the history of the character in general. So my cousin Connor, ironically, his name is also Connor, got me into comics. And the two characters that he was the most into were Green Lantern and Deadpool. Another irony, because both of those characters would be later played by Ryan Reynolds. I was all in on Green Lantern. I got really obsessed with Green Lantern comics, the mythology of it all. This was like just after Jeff Johns had taken over the book, and he'd like greatly expanded all the different rainbow Reggie Biv colors of the lanterns. He introduced the blue and the red and the orange and all those crazy ones. And Deadpool, I had a harder time getting into. I was pretty young, so the hyper-violence of the character was not something that was going to be really appealing to me. And I slowly watched as Deadpool became a very cult figure in comic books to, like, the mainstream of the mainstream. By the time I was working in a comic book store, Deadpool and Harley Quinn fever had exploded to the point where I greatly resented those characters. I really don't like Deadpool in the comics. I think there are certain writers who have done him really, really well. I actually like the few books that Gail Simone wrote with Deadpool, which weren't a ton. Because the writers that are mainly associated with him now, Dennis Duggan, Brian Posehn, who's a stand-up, but the character in the comic books is kind of a one-trick pony, and it's very easy for that sort of shtick to get grating after a while. But when this movie was coming out, I was curious about it because when that test footage leaked, we were talking about it just a moment ago. I thought the test footage was really promising, and I'm like, if you're going to do this character, this is the correct way to do that character. Tonally, they got it the nail right on the head. So I was cautiously optimistic when the test footage leaked, and it was like, Fox, because of the positive reaction, they might be curious of fast-tracking, taking this movie that was previously on the shelf and fast-tracking it, which is what they did. And then all the wave of the news coming out, I was cautious with them selecting Tim Miller, who had not made a movie before this. This is his first movie. He came from the animation world, and animatics, and then later, I believe, special effects, right? That's sort of where he got his name for a while. But knowing that he was the guy behind the test footage, it was like, all right, if the movie tracks with what this is, I think we're in for something potentially good. And then the movie comes out, the buzz is good. I was going to go see it with my cousin Connor, and then our other cousin Lauren drove up from Maryland to see it with us. We all saw it like an 11 o'clock showing on the Saturday that it opened. We all... It's a funny story because I had just turned 17, so this was like the first rated R movie that I could see by myself in the theater, and the baby face runs in my family. So even my cousin Lauren, who's like 7 years older than me, like, we all went up to the counter and none of us looked 17. And the guy was just like, "There's no way you guys have seen this movie." And then we all showed our IDs. It was like, all right, and then he let us in. So we watched the movie, we had a good time, we stayed over at my cousin's house, and I stayed up all night, and then I slept for the entire next day. And I enjoyed myself at the time. I thought this is the best possible version that this movie could be, and I kind of stand by that, for better or for worse, and now we're here. A sequel later that we'll talk about next time.
I remember, because I was really big excited, but like I mentioned, my girlfriend at the time kind of leached off my excitement, and she was so excited to see Deadpool.
Yeah.
Until she actually bought a Deadpool comic to like get her in the mood, and then she read the comic, and then she texted me back, "Connor, I don't want to see this movie."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, understandable.
Yeah, it's a particular flavor. Oh, I forgot. Let me talk about why I don't like Deadpool the character.
Yeah, go for it.
So Deadpool, as you can tell, is a joke. I mean, he is a comedic figure. He's a metatextual character dissecting different tropes within comic book and action film storytelling. He breaks the fourth wall a lot. He's filled with pop culture reference. He's very much in line with the mid-2000s rando humor, throwing out things like chimichangas and unicorns just because it's wacky. It's so random. He is very much... The thing is that he is a product of his time, that being like the year 2005, but is also parodying a trope that doesn't really exist anymore. So he was introduced in New Mutants number 93 or whatever, co-created by Rob Liefeld, who is known for being a bad artist and a bad person. And in that first sort of incarnation, he was sort of jokey, but that's about it. He's a parody of characters like Deathstroke and the Punisher, and the sort of slate of vigilante-type characters that came out of the post-Frank Miller era of, a darker, grittier comic book scene. The Punisher was introduced in the 30s, but really blossomed into popularity in the mid to late 80s. Did I say the 30s?
Yes, you did.
The Punisher was introduced in the 70s. So even in its original concept, was sort of tongue-in-cheek, and that only escalated and escalated and escalated, and they introduced the fourth wall breaks, and then it sort of imploded from there. So the Deadpool, in his zenith, as we know him now, is already kind of out of date culturally. He is a reaction to a trend that has since long passed, and then adopted these sort of comical attributes that were current when he was really starting to gain popularity, but have since passed themselves. And I think in the hands of the right writer, you know, he can be mildly entertaining. And then in the hands of the wrong writer, he can be absolutely obnoxious. So that's sort of my qualms with the characters as well. I feel like the one saving grace for me going in and since is the casting of Ryan Reynolds. I don't think you can do a good Deadpool without Ryan Reynolds. The one exception maybe being that Donald Glover animated series that we're never going to see. That was the only other version I was even curious about. And that moment has long passed now. So yeah, do you want to... Connor, did you take notes this time, or are we going back to our X-Men roots where we're just rambling?
No, I've taken notes. I don't really have that many talking points. Mm-hmm. But they're mostly just, like, connections to, like... Well, one is a connection to, like, X-Men world in general.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have a brief argument about this.
Well, no, here's the thing. I wish Vanessa was a copycat.
She technically could have been. I mean, this is more of a...
She could have been until Deadpool 2, yes.
It's unfortunate that they fridge her in Deadpool 2, yes.
Yes. I don't know, because even in the theater, because I knew who Copycat was.
Yeah.
And I knew it was Vanessa. Yeah. And I was like, oh, when she's in the chamber we see where she's getting suffocated, I thought she was going to become Copycat.
No, I'm kind of glad that they didn't do that, like, right at the end.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Copycat is just Mystique, but she can copy people's powers as well.
Yeah, it's sort of that... It's like she's sort of half Mystique, half Rogue, ironically.
Yes. I don't know. I guess I just want Vanessa to do things, I guess, is my complaint, more than she's not Copycat.
That's an accurate statement. I wish they give Marina Baccarin a thing, because she's a great actress.
She's a great actress. Yeah. You know what she's also really good in? Around the same time?
What's that?
Gotham.
Who is she in Gotham?
She's, her name is Lee. She's a therapist that dates Jim Gordon.
Yeah, I'm okay never watching Gotham.
Here's the thing. Gotham, not a good show. Marina Baccarin in Gotham, very good.
Yeah, she's a good actress. I don't need to see her in a crappy Batman TV show, though. I think she's really good in Deadpool 2, too. Granted, she's not in it for much, but her one scene, particularly at the end, which we'll get into, I think is actually pretty damn great. I think she has very good chemistry with Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
And yeah, I wish that Vanessa was more of an active character. That's the thing. I feel like the best compliment that I can give the screenplay is that structurally, it just fucking works. This story, this plot works. It's very functional, and it's very much setup, payoff, and it telegraphs everything that it's doing, but in a way that I think it functions. There's no, like, huge plot hole here, and I'm not the type of person that says if a movie has a plot hole, it's a disaster. It's a testament to story structure, but at the same time, it is building off these tropes from action films that were outdated when they wrote it in the mid-2000s, and by the time 2016 rolls around, feels ancient.
Because one of my big negatives, which we'll skip to negatives for now.
Yeah.
I hate the script. Bones-wise, it is great. I agree with you. This actual structure of, like, where things are is great.
Yeah.
Dialogue and character motivations in a lot of this stuff just does not work for me.
Here's the thing. I will give you that. But the greatest praise I can give this movie is that this is the best possible version that we can get of a meat and potatoes Deadpool movie. And I think that reaction of yours, and similar to mine, is that we don't connect with this character fully.
No.
I'm connecting with him more than you are because I inherently like Ryan Reynolds. I will follow Ryan Reynolds to a certain extent. And I do think that he is the best possible casting. Though I will say, when I saw this movie in 2016, I'm like, this is the best possible version of a Deadpool movie that I can imagine. I actually like this movie. My feelings for it has qualmed because it's just one of those comedies that doesn't... The jokes don't hold up on repeat viewings. They really don't. But that first viewing was a hell of a lot of fun. And I think when I saw it in 2016, I'm like, this is kind of a throwback to like 80s, 90s action movies. And on repeat viewings, the cliches, their charms just wear off.
Yeah. Now, like I said, I had a great time when I saw this back in 2016. Like, opening...
Yeah.
I think I saw it on a Saturday, too. I think I saw it on Saturday just like you.
Yeah.
Opening weekend, like, 2016. Like, this was my shit. Like, I adored it. But then, like I said, like, once I thought about it, I was like, that movie wasn't that good.
I wouldn't say it's not that good. I'd say it's fine.
For me, like I told you, I don't know if it's not on the recording. I gave it a 2.5.
Yeah.
Which for me, in my Connor scale, is a little less than passable.
I feel like this movie is above passable is the thing. Connor, in this series, we have watched worse movies.
Ace Ventura, yes.
No, in X-Pedition specifically, we have watched worse movies.
We'll talk about my list, but right now this is number 11.
Here's the thing, like, I'm not talking about how much you enjoyed it. I'm talking about as a movie. This is better than like at least 4 other X-Men movies.
Yes, and maybe passable is the wrong term to use because I equate passable with my feelings on the movie along with the quality of the movie. The production of this movie is above passable. Yes. I'm just saying when you average the quality of the movie structurally and like as a film and Connor enjoyment of it, that balances out to below passable in my opinion. In Connor's realm of opinion on this movie, it's below passable.
But I would say objectively as a movie, the thing just
objectively
works.
It's above passable, yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, the bones are perfect. It's a perfectly constructed skeleton.
Yeah.
I just think the flesh on the skeleton is like a weird Frankenstein bad boy.
The problem is that it's just kind of hollow.
Yes.
One of the reasons, and we'll get into this with Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 is a messy movie, but it's so ambitious in what they're trying to do. And I think that movie actually has a lot of heart. Yes. I mean, we'll talk about... I'll have to rewatch it. My opinions might have changed in the 2-something years and change since it's released. But I like that movie a lot more than this one. Even though that this movie might be quote-unquote better objectively.
No, I don't disagree with you. Well, I saw, like... Obviously, my opinion on Deadpool had changed by the time I saw Deadpool 2 in 2018, right?
Yeah.
2019. By the time I'd seen
18.
Deadpool 2...
Yeah.
The same problems I had with Deadpool on this current rewatch are the same ones I had with Deadpool 2 the first time I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was like, this movie's a lot messier than the first one is, but I think the structure does generally work.
Yeah.
I love Josh Brolin. I love Zazie Beetz. I love Ryan Reynolds. I love fucking Bill Skarsgård, who's also in it.
The kid from Hunt from Wilder People is really good in it.
The kid from Hunt from Wilder People is really good in it, too.
Yeah.
I like and David Leitch from
John Wick.
I almost said Tom Wick for some reason. From John Wick.
And Atomic Blonde. And
Atomic Blonde, yes. I think David Leitch, especially with action, is a very, very capable director, and I like David Leitch. So going into Deadpool 2, I was very excited. And even, like, Juggernaut being in it, which I don't know, for some reason I'm a big Juggernaut boy. I like Juggernaut.
Juggernaut's really good in Deadpool 2.
Yes, he's a lot of fun in Deadpool 2. But, at the risk of it becoming more Deadpool 2, a lot of the same issues I had with this movie going in the same ones I had with Deadpool 2, and I am more excited to rewatch Deadpool 2 now that I've watched Deadpool again.
Yeah. See,
those same problems do, like, coexist.
Yeah, because I've never watched them back-to-back. I watched... this is only my 3rd time watching Deadpool. I saw it in theaters, and then I saw it later that year with a bunch of my friends from high school. We were all just hanging out, and then I haven't watched it since.
Yeah.
I've watched scenes here and there because I think the action in this movie is very well directed. My greatest compliment to Tim Miller, both with this and Terminator Dark Fate, which is not a movie I like all that much, is that he knows his way around action. And I think it benefits that he comes from the animation world, and I mean all the rules of like setup, payoff. I think he's a very talented visual storyteller. I wish he would get his hands on a really great script.
My next talking point is just I'm glad this movie does exist, even if I don't like it that much. It just paved the way for Logan.
Yeah, I feel like this A little less so now because now it's over, but I feel like this was the ultimate testing ground for what the future of Fox X-Men was, and I mean there are certain levels that did pay off, and the potential of what it could have been.
It was a really exciting future.
It was a really exciting future before the Disney acquisition. Because without this movie, obviously we don't get Deadpool 2. That's how sequels work. But we wouldn't get Logan, or we wouldn't get New Mutants. And who knows what was going to follow after that.
The James Franco Multiple Man.
Yeah, that was never going to happen.
No.
Same thing with Gambit.
Yeah, and there was a Kitty Pryde movie that was on the shelf, on the table for like a week, and then this got immediately taken off.
There was a fucking Brian K. Vaughan written Silver Surfer movie.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting things on the table.
Also, it's just like, this movie is the epitome of fan service, but I think this movie is fan service done right. It's sprinkled throughout the movie. I mean, they are aware the fact that this movie is getting made at all is a victory for the diehard fans of this character.
Yes.
So everything else is just extra. It's garnish, and we can just sprinkle it throughout.
Yes.
It's not as ham-fisted as something. I can't even think of an example of, like, BVS is the prime example. Like, we have to fit Cyborg and Aquaman and Doomsday and Parademons all into this movie.
Yes. That is true. At least those are only one scene in BVS. No, okay, this isn't like, I didn't have this written down or anywhere, but this thing has always kind of like intrigued me / bothered me a little bit.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Ryan Reynolds met Blake Lively on the set of Green Lantern.
Yes.
If I was Blake Lively, I'd be kind of upset that you keep shitting on the place where we met.
Here's the thing. She kind of does it in the press, too. Not as much as he does, because that's the whole thing about Ryan. Like, the problem with Ryan Reynolds becoming Deadpool now is that the two personas have sort of morphed. Ryan Reynolds, yes, I think, is an actor who doesn't have a ton of range, but has like a decent amount of range. Like, there are different sides of him. Has since kind of only become Deadpool. In his public persona, he, like, Detective Pikachu is just, it's basically the same performance.
Yes.
It's him delivering lines in the voice of Deadpool as Pikachu, and it's PG.
Yes.
It's that same. That's the biggest problem. So, like, his public persona has become self-aware, and also the thing is, like, he was the Green Lantern. So if anyone's going to shit on the movie, they're going to be shitting on him. So he feels that he has to own it.
Okay.
I don't think he does. I think that the thing is now when this movie came out, it was like, just don't make the suit green or animated. It's like, haha, fine. I think people kind of forget that Green Lantern exists now. So the need to shit on Green Lantern doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Well, the shitting on Green Lantern gets worse in Deadpool 2, obviously, with that whole post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Where he literally blows off Ryan Reynolds' head as he's reading the Green Lantern script.
I didn't like that joke then either, because my feelings were very similar. It's like, who cares? That was 7 years ago. Also, when's the last time you've watched Green Lantern?
I haven't seen it since the theater.
I rewatched part of it last summer, I think, and I'm like, is this as bad as I remember? And the answer is no. That movie's just kind of bland. They have no chemistry in that movie. It is insane that they went on to be a real life couple. There's no, it's mind-boggling. It was like they ended up married. They have children together. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's no spark whatsoever, and it's not, because here's the thing, because, like, there have been plenty of times where actors are given a bad script and there's still a little something there because there's an inherent thing. They have nothing. It's crickets. It's insane.
I remember Blake Lively, speaking of his kids, Blake Lively was talking about how she would take James on a plane sometimes.
Yeah.
When Deadpool came out and it was on all the in-flight movie things. Yeah. And she'd always just point and say, "Dad, Dad." And there's one point, it was like the sex scene, and she's pointing at the monitor and saying, "Dad." Which is a great fun story I think she told on Conan. Do you just want to go to positives then? There's more of those than negatives.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, first positive, I like the opening credits sequence.
Here's the thing. What? More positives than negatives, still a 2.5.
The positives aren't ultra positive, they're just positive.
Okay.
I love the opening credit sequence. I do think the opening credit sequence is clever.
It was fun the first time. It's just, I it's lost its luster.
Yes. I think it's better with the regular credits, like with Ryan Reynolds and like read by Paul Reese and Paul Warnick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the concept of that. I never thought, like, also the Green Lantern joke in that is incredibly stupid too.
What, the trading card?
Yes. I always thought the concept of that is really cool. You Call Me... The song's not called You Call Me Angel.
Angel in the Morning.
Yes, Angel in the Morning is a very outdated meme at this point.
Well, but now it is.
Yes.
But this was the first movie to use it. I mean, in our sort of modern, like, jokey era. In It Chapter 2 is unforgivable. It's insane.
Well, yeah, that moment in It Chapter 2 is just dumb, and that fact it's in It Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Which, we could have a whole episode on It Chapter 2.
I will never watch that movie again.
Yeah. But the song is good then because it was not a meme at that point.
Yeah, this is a movie that made it a meme.
I like the animation of that opening sequence flowing through the car. I think it's very, very cool.
It's weird. This is one of the few movies that I will give the compliment is that I like it when it looks super CGI.
Yeah. Because
Tim Miller coming from the animation world, I feel like is very comfortable in that. Not that the live action stuff looks bad. It looks very good. He knows his way around a camera and camera placement particularly. But also Deadpool lends himself to being sort of cartoony. There was a moment in the climax when I was watching this and I'm like, I kind of wish this movie was just animated. Because there's so much CGI to begin with. Why not go the whole way?
Yeah. No, when that first test footage came out, I was like, oh, I kind of hope this is animated.
Yeah. If Deadpool was like a little looser limbed, I mean, I don't want it to look like Jim Carrey the Mask, but I want like a little bit zippier in sort of the movements of people that you just can't get in live action, especially if you're putting them in like a limiting suit.
Yeah. Speaking of the suit.
Yeah.
We talked about Pedro Pascal and The Mandalorian a couple weeks ago now.
Yeah.
I like that it's actually Ryan Reynolds the majority of the time.
Yeah, and we'll get into more during Deadpool 2, but I can personally attest that it's Ryan Reynolds as much as possible. And obviously stunt performers. But the stunt performers are great.
Yes, and I like that it's Ryan actually, it's him in the suit actually, not like Pedro Pascal for like 5 minutes of one scene on The Mandalorian.
But I think that comes from Ryan Reynolds has such a personal attachment to this character because he's been wanting to play him at that point for like 10 years already. So he's ready. He's ready and willing. And also just the suit looks great.
It does.
It is like one of the best like comic to screen adaptations I've ever seen in my entire life. Like it is the best possible real world. I also like the evolution of the suit where it starts with like a hoodie and then it looks like essentially a cosplayer's version of a Deadpool suit, whereas the spandex, but the design is accurate to the comics. I like the evolution. The suit looks incredible.
And then the action scene in the car, I do like a lot.
Yeah, I think both of the big action set pieces in this movie, that being the highway chase and the aircraft carrier. Is that an aircraft carrier?
It's supposed to be like a SHIELD helicarrier, but we're not allowed to know it's a SHIELD helicarrier. Yeah,
that's the thing that throws me off. It's like, is this supposed to be a fucking helicarrier? Or is this supposed to be like
a helicarrier, yeah.
That's a weird choice. You could have just made it like a regular ass like aircraft carrier boat.
Well, it's
what city is this supposed to be?
They never tell you. I don't know.
Because it has, I don't know. Part of me likes that it's just sort of nondescript, and other part of me was like, I want a sense of geography of like what is this supposed to be?
It's Deadpool. Here's the thing. It's New York, right? Because they're close to like Xavier's.
Yeah, I guess.
It has to be New York.
It looks nothing like New York. Well, they shot this in Canada, but I know that, but Canada's model. I wish they gave us a name. There was nothing about this city that reminded me of New York.
No.
Not even to the point where, like, in the 2016 Ghostbusters, where it's like, this is New York, and it's obviously Boston. Like, it's the most obvious Boston movie since, like, fucking Gone Baby Gone.
Okay, it's kind of cheesy. I like the numbers on the bullets during that scene, too.
Yeah, that sequence, it's good. It just fucking works.
But that's how my positives go as I'm talking about the numbers on the bullets. This was something I like in this movie.
Not that sequence, just the fact that it actually has the numbers on the bullets.
Yes, the numbers on the bullets.
Oh, wow. That is a very specific positive.
I like that. I like the inclusion of Bob from Hydra, or I guess Jacksonville, in this.
Did Fox ever have access to Hydra?
I don't think so.
I don't know how the rights of that... What Hydra would be... Well, Hydra would probably be under Captain America, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know... S.H.I.E.L.D. I guess S.H.I.E.L.D. would be under Nick Fury, whoever owns the rights of Nick Fury at any given time.
Yeah.
Because there's the weird thing with, like... Because Marvel characters, because the universe is so connected, is that, like... certain things, like the weird loophole because Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were introduced in Avengers, but they're Magneto's children, that both got both.
Yes.
And like the weird lump deal where Fox is like, we'll give you Daredevil and such if you give us this. All the crazy, like the thing with X-Men, if a character is introduced in an X-Men comics, Fox automatically got the rights and shit like that.
That's interesting.
It's very, the whole... Because with DC, it's easy. They were all fucking owned by Warner Brothers. So you never had to worry about that.
The final fight with Ajax is also my final positive.
Yeah, it's a good fight. I like the Negasonic Colossal end of it more than the Deadpool Ajax. So also, it benefits that I really like Gina Carano. She's a screen presence I always enjoy. The thing I wanted to go back quickly to the number bullet sequence. I like the joke where the guy actually hits him and Deadpool gets pissed and he wastes 2 bullets on him and it was like, stupid, worth it. It's a little moment. I think it's very funny. And I think that's mainly down to, again, Ryan Reynolds' delivery of that line.
Yes.
The sort of like manic energy of Deadpool.
I love Ryan Reynolds. I loved him in this when I saw him in this originally, and I like him in Deadpool too. Yeah. It's just like, first, I love Ryan Reynolds, but he did not work for me in this movie. Any other Ryan Reynolds performance, like you mentioned Pikachu and Detective Pikachu, I am 1,000% in.
Yeah,
just for this, I just couldn't do it.
I feel like part of it is just... The thing about this movie was, like, we need to make, like, a meat and potatoes Deadpool movie to, like, really introduce people to this world. I feel like the problem with this movie on rewatch is the problem with so many origin story movies on rewatch. It was like, we got the idea, and it's just tapping into the origin story multiple times just isn't that rewarding. Whereas Deadpool 2 is its own side adventure, and that's a little more interesting to rewatch. I feel the thing about Deadpool in the comics is that he has sort of like a weird split personality thing. That the fourth wall breaks aren't just fourth wall breaks. He is sort of in conversation with himself at any given time. And that is not translated super well into the movie because it's mainly just him telling the story to the audience and him sometimes interacting with his own fourth wall breaks in scene. It's almost like one of those things, like the fourth wall breaks, there weirdly needs to be more of them. Yeah. In order for it to work properly, which I think Deadpool 2 does successfily well.
Honestly, Deadpool 2 just has more personality than this one does.
It does have more personality.
Where it's like, I mean, when Deadpool 2, I'm more excited for when Domino is on screen than when Deadpool is in Deadpool 2.
Well, yeah, because Domino is more of a character.
Yes.
The thing is, like, Deadpool... The thing about Deadpool is that they give him, like, wants and needs, which I know is what most characters kind of need, but Deadpool more works best as, like, an agent of chaos. Yes. He's a Bugs Bunny type. Like, literally, he is modeled after Bugs Bunny in so many different ways with the fourth wall breaks and sort of... In the comics, he, like, breaks the rules of physics and things like that. His motivation shouldn't be like revenge or like getting my ex-girlfriend back. It should be like, how can I ruin everyone else's day? Mm-hmm. And this movie doesn't have that.
I wish I had more to say about this movie. I just like, it's disappointed me to such like a weird level.
For me, there's not much to be disappointed. I think the fact that this movie works at all is a victory.
I guess, yeah. It's weird because like I don't give a shit about Deadpool, but for some, it's the same thing with Cats. We talked about Cats. I could not give 2 shit about Cats, but for some reason, when Cats didn't work, it bummed me out to an extreme level. I couldn't explain it.
That's a you thing, Connor. I don't know what to tell you.
I like allocate my like expectations in really weird, weird places.
Oh God. No, I don't know. It's just a thing. I like to judge movies on their own terms. I like to a certain extent, because if I disagree with the terms, like I inherently won't enjoy it. But like if the movie works, because it was like, here's everything that the movie sets out to do. Does it succeed at least in that? I think this movie succeeds in everything that it attempts to do. That is the greatest compliment I can give this movie. It's just that what it's attempting to do is not something, as me personally, as an audience member, necessarily wants to see.
Yeah. And I guess I kind of have an extra layer of, like, separation there, where it's like, if what they're trying to do is not what I'm, like, looking for, then I just don't like it. I still acknowledge, like, it's still trying. But here's the thing, this movie works as a, like you said, a meat and potatoes Deadpool story.
Yeah.
I guess I just really am not interested in the meat and potatoes Deadpool story.
I feel like the problem inherently is that this is a movie where Deadpool is trying to... It's two things. He wants to get Vanessa back, and we're invested in that because we like Marina Baccarin, and those two have chemistry. But he also wants revenge on Francis, and we're not invested in that because we don't care about Francis. Francis has no personality.
Yes.
He's... The story tells us that he's sadistic, but Ed Skrein is mainly like... because the movie's not asking him to do much. I feel like if the villain was more engaging, because the benefit of Deadpool 2 is because, again, they're just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, and that sort of manic energy, A, fits this character better, and B, are you not invested in this thing? There's 5 other things that we're juggling that you can latch on to.
And I like Cable as, like, a loose antagonist, too.
Do you have any more thoughts?
I forgot one positive. I like the holiday sex scene a lot, too.
Yeah, it's fun.
I like it.
don't... The International Women's Day... This movie has a gross, like, no homo energy throughout it.
Yeah.
It's very dude, and I don't like that. I don't like... Here's the thing. The joke for International Women's Day that she's pegging him on a very juvenile level is... funny structurally as a joke. It's we're going back to the Jim Carrey thing, was like, this could work as a joke. I don't like that he hates it.
Yes, the joke is funnier if he actually enjoys it.
I feel like it's actually more accurate to the character if he enjoys it too.
Yeah. Also, you could have ended that joke on just him being nervous, and then you see her strap the dildo in, and that's where the joke ends.
Yeah.
The one bit I like the most out of that scene, though, is, like, he's eating her out, and she's like, ouch, and he comes with, the vampire teeth.
Yeah,
that's
Happy
funny.
Halloween. That one's funny.
That's a good bit.
The Lent joke was really funny the first time, and is not as funny as the second time.
The Thanksgiving dinner scene, I thought there was going to be family at the table. I remembered that
I
wrong.
also thought that. That was a weird...
weird, like, Mandela effect, where it's like, we thought there was
it's probably one of those things where they thought it was like, that's probably the most obvious conclusion, so let's cut it.
Yeah.
The thing is, there are certain jokes that they try to put a hat on a hat, which is like my least favorite thing in comedy. Like the scene where it's that final climactic battle, and he's facing off with Ajax or Francis or whatever, and he's like, let's dance, and by dance I mean try to kill each other. You cut out the let's try to kill each other. Let's dance is enough.
Yeah.
The Thanksgiving dinner scene where the hat on the hat of it's like they're at some random family would be the one time that actually works.
Yes. It's just like a staple of comedy, though, is like really funny situation that you zoom out that people like watching horrified. Oh, I have one more negative.
What's your negative?
The people on the street being like, oh, he's so ugly. Like, as he's walking after, I'm blanking on Marina Baccarin's name in this. Vanessa. As he's walking over Vanessa, it's like, we're not dumb, movie. We know that Wade is self-conscious about the way he looks now.
Yeah. The one line in that I really do like, though, is like, that looks like it hurts. Yeah, I agree with you. I think part of that is sort of what I mentioned earlier, is that Deadpool in the source material has more of a split personality. I feel like those aren't even things that people are actually saying. I feel like that's him getting in his own head. But, like, we don't need that.
No. I think, well, we already know it already, because obviously he's horrified when it happens.
Yeah.
I think all you really need is that last shot of, like, she goes in, you see he doesn't follow her, and you just see his reflection in the door. I think you get the point.
Yeah. And also, just the couple pass, because they have the passing shots of people, like, staring and, like, trying to look away.
Yes.
Those are enough.
I think that's even too much.
I feel like that's fairly realistic, though.
I think do it, like, once. Don't have, like, 20 different people looking at him.
It was not 20. It was, like, 7.
It was a lot.
I agree with you that it was too much, but you are being hyperbolic in the amount of people that are actually doing it.
No, 20 is too many. But I'm pretty sure, Steve, it's like 4 different times a person or like 2 people look at him and look disgusted.
There's like 4 lines that looks like it hurts. Oh, that's gnarly. Look away. But there's like, they show like 7 or 8 different people.
Yeah, that's too much.
I agree with you, but it's too much. But it's not 20.
Not 20. 20 is hyperbolic.
Yeah.
The point is, it makes me feel like I'm stupid. Like, the movie is like, hey, dude, in case you don't get it, he doesn't like the way he looks.
That was probably a studio note. I agree with you that it's a little audience hand-holdy. And not in the way that the rest of this movie is audience hand-holding, because, like, we're dealing with multiple timelines, so this voiceover narration, we are literally guiding you through the story we're trying to tell.
Yes. That's
reasonable, because you keep flashing backwards and forwards and different things like that. Yeah, I agree with you, it's not great, but it's one of those... it's like, this is a very meat-and-potatoes Hollywood production. That is both adopting and commenting on cliches of this genre.
Yes.
And that is definitely one of them.
Also, here's the thing. The jokes about Deadpool's appearance just never worked for me, especially the weasel scene. I do like when him and Vanessa are finally united, like she sees his face. She's like, that's a face I could learn to love to sit on. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. It's a good joke.
Yeah. And that fits their characters.
Yes.
I'm saying for her character loosely.
Yeah, it fits their relationship. The kind of like couple they were. It fits it. What else did you want to talk about Mr. Poole? Oh, speaking of Mr. Poole, I like Dopinder.
I love Dopinder. That guy, whose name I'm forgetting.
Karen Sony.
Yes, Karen Sony, one of my beloved Other Space people. Other Space, which was a Paul Feige created show on Yahoo Screen that lasted 6 episodes. He was the lead on that. And that was before this. So every time he shows up in something, I was like, hey! So yeah, I love Karen Sony, you said his name was?
I think that's how you say it, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know he followed me on Twitter? Do you know that story?
No.
Yeah, I was really big. Well, not big. I liked it quite a bit. Safety Not Guaranteed, which he is also
right.
in.
That was his big thing. That was his debut.
I tweeted like, this movie's really good. Karen Sony's really great in it. And he liked my tweet and he started following me. And that was like my claim to fame for a little bit. Yeah. And then like I kept him like, I'm followed by this actor, like whatever. And I looked one day to show my friend and he unfollowed me.
He probably did a purge.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
He probably followed a lot of people who complimented Safety Not Guaranteed or like added Safety Not Guaranteed, and then a few months later did a purge. Don't take it personally. Yeah. You probably didn't offend him.
No, I don't. I just think that's funny.
I really love the kidnapping joke.
Yes.
And I love that. I love when we reveal that he got into a fender bender. You just hear the terrible screams.
And you just hear him say "Buntu," and he's like just like back there. Oh god.
I do like the scene where they're all in the cab and Deadpool has, for the sake of staying in Colossus' good graces, has to tell him off and then whispers, "You're doing a great job." Yes. Yeah, and speaking of, the 2 characters I really, really like in this movie are Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
I do like Teenage Warhead quite a bit.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead, a Grant Morrison creation. I think she was literally in 1 issue and then she died. And of course, only Grant Morrison could come up with the name Negasonic Teenage Warhead. I think Brianna, what's her last name? Hildebrand?
Hildebrand, yeah, or Hildegard. Yeah,
Brianna Hildebrand. She rocks. I love all the Sinead O'Connor jokes. I think she's awesome in Deadpool 2 with her lightning friend.
Her girlfriend.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I see. I don't remember her name.
Do they officially? Do I forget if it's a thing? If they specifically said that they're gay?
They're said they're together.
Okay,
I know
like
for
that.
sure. Like Wade calls them girlfriends, but I'm pretty sure they are together.
I don't remember if they like dance around that or if they specifically said it.
I'm pretty sure they say they are together.
Yeah, Brianna Hildebrand Rock says Negasonic Teenage Warhead. I love her little repartee with Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
He's constantly making fun of her, and she couldn't even be bothered to have a reaction.
Yeah. The witty remark or silence is like, you've really like put me in a corner.
I love Ripley from Alien 3, and she just goes, God, you're old.
No, there are fun moments. Maybe on a second thought, I'll give it back. I'll give Boost up to a 3.
Yeah.
There's fun to it. It's not like a disaster. It's not like we mentioned earlier off camera. It's not like a Jonah Hex or an Artemis Fowl.
No, it's not. Here's the thing. This movie is inarguably better than Last Stand. I don't enjoy it nearly as much as Last Stand.
Yes. Hold on, I'm gonna do a quick. Just
it is inarguably better than your beloved X-Men Origins Wolverine, but at
least that movie is fun.
For that movie,
yes.
For you, that movie is fun, and I'm glad you're the only person in the world who thinks that.
Yes,
because that's what makes you my special little boy. God, Colossus! I like Colossus in this movie.
I like Colossus.
I'm glad that we're actually getting a Colossus because he's barely in X2 in Last Stand.
I like that he's a gentleman. He's a nice fellow.
I love that he's lame, because that's really what Colossus was in like the Claremont era. So I like that they're going all in on like Colossus being a Boy Scout essentially. It's interesting that we never get him in his human form. I
think there was just full CGI model. Just keep it that way.
I guess. I love that he's fucking huge too.
He's humongous.
He's like what, 8 feet tall?
He's huge.
Because
Ryan Reynolds they didn't have a regular actor.
Ryan Reynolds is not that short.
I think he's 5'11".
Yeah. And Colossus like towers over him. Connor, do we have any more thoughts on Deadpool?
I don't have any more written down.
I think I basically went through everything.
This episode's kind of messy. I apologize.
Listen, we're back in our X zone.
Yeah, our X zone. It's a shorter one too. We're only an hour in.
Are we only an hour?
We're only an hour and 5 minutes in.
Some of this is going to get cut out.
I'm gonna guess it's like going to be a 57-minute show.
No, it'd probably be closer to 50.
You think 17 minutes gonna get cut out? 15 minutes gonna get cut out of this? Well, Steve,
Connor, thank you for joining me. I'm glad that we're back on X-Men.
I'm intrigued by the possibilities that this arises.
I'm excited for New Mutants, and I'm
very excited for New Mutants.
I feel like we talked so much about Deadpool 2 that we might not have much to say about Deadpool 2 next time.
We'll still have a lot to say about Deadpool 2.
We barely, we'll talk about Josh Brolin. We'll go into stuff more.
Talk about Josh Brolin. We'll talk about how the people that campaigned for Cable.
Yeah. Oh God, I forgot about that. Remember Kyle Chandler? This close. He was this close.
This close. That's the reason Tim Miller didn't direct that movie, was Kyle Chandler.
Was that the breaking point? Wow, that's crazy. Because Josh Brolin was like a huge surprise.
Yes, he was.
I didn't know that was because I knew that he and Reynolds had a big falling out, but I did not know.
From what I understand, Tim Miller was heavily set on Kyle Chandler, and Reynolds just was like, I just don't see it. And that was, of course, like they just like split them off.
Crazy.
Because at that point, I think he had much more say than Tim Miller did.
Oh, absolutely. He's a co-screenwriter on that movie.
Yeah.
So he's a producer and a screenwriter. And he, like, here's the thing. It's like, if the studio has to choose between the star and the director, they're going to choose Ryan.
Yes. That's what it was. Poor Kyle Chandler.
Yeah, he would have been a great Cable. I'm sorry.
He did really interesting.
Here's the thing. I liked Josh Brolin as Cable. We'll talk about it more. But it was crazy that he got cast because he was Thanos.
Yes.
At that, like, because by the time he got cast, we had not seen the full extent of Thanos. But,
Yes.
like, people like you and me knew it was like, but he's gonna be the guy in the next big Avengers movie. And Deadpool 2 comes out, like, 3 weeks after Infinity War.
Oh, why was it that soon?
It's
yes,
that...
it was.
Because it actually was about a month. Because Deadpool was, like, the May 25th weekend, and Avengers got pushed up a week early, so it was the last week in
filmed
April.
that, like, a long time before Deadpool 2, though.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
So he probably had finished, like, just finished worked on Endgame.
Yeah, he had.
And was like, yeah, I'll come do Deadpool. Stick.
To be continued. I'm just ready for New Mutants.
Yes.
I just put that... Let us watch the movie.
Yes.
Give us the movie.
Put it for $30 in HBO Max. We'll watch it.
And until then, Connor, when we'll be watching Deadpool 2 from the year of our Lord 2018 for director David Leitch. Connor?
Yes, Steve?
Fuck, what is the line?
We are the future, Charles.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Connor?
Okay.
We
Yes,
are the
Steve?
future, Charles.
Oh, okay, let's do it one more time.
Okay,
I won't
sorry.
say yes, Steve, this time.
And Connor, until then, we are the future, Charles.
Not them.
They no longer matter.
Troy and Abed in the morning. Yeah, I'm excited to be done with Community.
Yeah, how far are you now?
I finished. I've been taking my time with season 6. I've only watched the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
Because last night I had to watch Deadpool and stuff, and on Sunday I watched 2 movies. I watched Ball of Fire, which is a Barbara Stanwyck movie written by Billy Wilder. It's a Howard Hawks movie, actually. It was Billy Wilder's last movie where he was just the screenwriter. It was the first movie he made before he became a director. And I watched Insomnia.
Yeah. What do you think of Insomnia?
I liked it more than you. They're weird. That script isn't amazing. I'd be very curious to watch the Norwegian version. But I think Al fucking Pacino in that, man. It's insanely good.